Okay, so this is putting this imagery through the channels. This one here, I've got it. All I need to do is I go Command A, which is the same as going up here and going select all. Command X, same as going up here and just going cut. And now over here, whether it's RGB or grayscale, I just go to my channels. There's a little icon down the bottom that's a new page, so it'll add in a new channel. I'll go Command V, same as going edit, paste. And all I do is I work with the levels. So if I go Command L, same as going up here and going image, adjustments, levels. And I'm trying to give it more contrast. I'm trying to make things more black and more white, less grey. So you never work with the output slider. All that's doing is it's just restricting your image. So here, if I dragged it in, you'd see it says it goes from black to this grey. There's no white. So this just gives you the full spectrum. And I can see from the histogram that it's not a proper black. So if I pull that black slider in to here at the end of this gram, I know that that's going to give me a really solid black. Same with the white. It's basically saying it's a bit dirty. If I pull it in, it will give me a nice pure white. Sometimes there's mucky greys, and I've got some images where I can kind of show you that, but this is pretty good. So I would just go in now, and I'm going to have a few areas, and because it's on the channels, I'll just get a white brush and, you know, paint out these kind of little glitches from the photocopying. If I don't want them, because I use the levels, it's just going to be the kind of paper edges in places. It's not a terribly complicated image, so that's good to go. All I do now is I go Command I, which is image, adjustments, invert, and this is because white is the area that I'm going to be able to color. So I come down to the bottom of the channels and there's this little dotty circle, click on that. I can see it jump around the image, so I know it's selected. Go to my layers. This is a solid white and I want to put it on a transparent layer, so I'll just make a new layer. And now black's my foreground color. So instead of going all the way up here and going edit, fill, blah blah blah, I just hold down the option key, which is for the foreground, and delete is fill. Command D, same as going up here and going deselect. And now once I'm got it as a color image and I'm working around with it, I'll just chuck a color in the background. With the transparency, it means that I can paint on it. I can fill it with whatever color I want. Option Shift to keep the transparency. Delete. Easy. Got it nice and clean. Now I'm going to use Jasmine's image here because it's a harder one. One, it's color, and it's a little bit harder to differentiate. So if I rotate this, I'll do exactly the same thing. I'll select all, I'll cut it, I'll go to my channels. Now I've got more channels because it's color, but I still do the same thing. I make a new alpha channel, I paste it, and you can see now because it's grey and that kind of oily residue, it's going to be harder to separate out. So we'll see how we go. So with this one, you can see now that the histogram's not at either end. It's a bit harder, it's all in the middle. So I can try moving the middle slider with this one a wee bit. So I'm trying to lighten the oil stain, bring up the text, lighten it. Now that it's a bit lighter, I might be able to move the whites in. bring up the black. And so I get something like this, which is still pretty good. It's got the detail in here. You can still do things like go to filter and sharpen. I usually use unsharp mask, gives me more control. And I can really sharpen up. All I'm doing now is it's not so much about sharpening it, it's turning it into a graphic. Switch it on and off. So it's just eliminating those grey areas. What I can also do, if I want to bring it right back to the black, and let's go with the P. If I want to knock out these grey areas, I use the lollipop tool. It's dodge. When you use dodge, you're trying to leave the blacks alone and get rid of the grey. So you always put it on highlights. Sometimes it comes up as midtones by default. I've used it before, so it automatically comes up as highlight. You can control the exposure, and I can come in here and eliminate the greys. With this A, if I eliminate the greys, I might not see it as an A anymore. So on this one, I'm going to try doing the opposite. I click and hold down and I get the burn tool. And midtones, this one, I'm going to change it to shadows. So I want to change the grey into a shadow rather than a highlight. So I'm darkening it rather than lightening. I'll keep clicking and dragging. It's on 50%, so it's just building it up slowly. If I put it on 100%, it would be a lot more vigorous. Once I've got it to this level where I can see the A, I can come back to the dodge tool and bring the white back into it if I want a bit. But I've darkened it up a bit to get my letter. Same with this. I'll highlight it there. Do I want to darken the bottom bit or just get rid of it? I'll just get rid of it. The S, I probably want to darken that bit around the edge so I can see the shape of the S. This time I'm going to put it right up to 100. It's on 25, so it's quite low. And it has a much more dramatic effect. Get a little bit at the top that I'll darken off. The N I'll bring the whites into, the A is okay, T's alright, the E is just a bit fudgy. So now back to the highlight tool. So with the exposure, 50% at the moment, you can be as coarse or as subtle as you want. So you can use a really low exposure and just slowly build things up. You know, keep a bit of grey if you want a bit of grey in it. I don't. And then I'm back to the same thing again, where I can kind of eliminate the background. So I'm just going to select my letters, and then Command-Shift-I is inverse, same as going up to select and finding it up here, inverse. And now it's got the background selected, so I can just fill it with white. Command-I, because I want to fill the letters, so they need to be white. Select them. Layers, I'll make a transparent layer. And if I want to bring it back to being red or a pinky color like Jasmine originally had, no, I can do that. Option delete, and it's going to have that transparency. So if we look at this one, and this is what I meant by the shadows. Today's a particularly bad day because the sun's coming in through the screens, casting those shadows. We'll see if we can do this one. Select all and cut it, go to my channels, make a new channel, paste it, Command L, you can see those shadows sucking in, but it might be something again where I have to use that middle slider. So I can eliminate the shadow, and even if there's still a bit of shadow like this, I just use exactly the same technique. You'll watch as soon as I get the dodge tool, that shadow is so light, it's just going to erase it. And we can go back in and deal with the letter form. So sometimes when you've got grey in an image, what I do is I lower this right down. That one that Sean did, that was the scribble that I had on the workbook. This is how I did this, and then I would get a big brush and just run it across the image. The more you kind of go over a small section, the more you kind of really lighten or burn it in. So you can do quick flourishes across the top, and I'll do it here. If I put the exposure, in this case, right up, and get a big brush, and I can just lightly drag across all the lettering. So you can kind of do it that way as well.